Simplifying algebraic expressions. So this is something we've done before too, and the only thing new is that now our numeric coefficients are fractions instead of whole numbers. So if we look at example 1, it says 1/3 b plus 2/9 b. Remember, when we're simplifying algebraic expressions, the big thing is that we can only combine like terms. So we want to make sure that the variables look identical. So they're the same letter being raised to the same power. And in this case they are. They're both b's. So what we want to do is add the 1/3 and the 2/9. So in our calculators we do 1 fraction button 3, right arrow, and then plus 2 fraction button 9, and then right arrow. And then we look at our calculator screen just to make sure it's in right. And it says 1/3 plus 2/9. So we hit enter. And that gives us 5/9. And we know it's not reducible because it doesn't have the little down arrow next to the answer. So we get 5/9 b. And we're done. Example 2 is a little bit more complicated. Notice that we have a terms, but we also have b terms. So the first thing we want to do is change our subtraction, which is right here, to addition of the opposite. And then the next thing we're going to do is write our like terms next to one another. So in this first step, all I'm going to do is change this minus a positive 7 into plus a negative. So I'm going to rewrite this as negative 5/8 a plus 3b plus 1/4 a. And then instead of minus positive 7/2, I write this as plus negative 7/2 b. Now I'm going to rewrite it so that the like terms are next to one another. And I can do that because addition is commutative, so I can rearrange things. So we've got negative 5/8 a plus, and now I'm looking for my other a term, which is right here. So I've got 1/4 a plus, and then I've got my 3b plus, and then I've also got my negative 7/2 b. So now the like terms are written next to one another, and I can combine like terms. So the first thing I want to do is combine negative 5/8 a plus 1/4 a. So remember, in order to combine, I'm really just adding their coefficients. So I take negative 5 fraction button 8, right arrow, plus 1 fraction button 4, and then right arrow, and then enter. And it gives me negative 3/8, and there's no down arrow, so it's fully simplified. So I write negative 3/8 a plus. Now this next part says 3b plus negative 7/2 b. So really all I'm doing is adding their coefficients. So I hit the clear button on my calculator, so I have a clear screen, and then I do 3 plus negative 7, and then fraction button 2, and then right arrow to get out of my fraction. Looking back at my calculator screen just to make sure it's in right, it says 3 plus negative 7/2, so I've got everything right, and I hit enter, and it gives me negative 1/2. So I write negative 1/2 b. Now we're almost done, but remember, in our final answer, if it's plus a negative, we change that back to subtraction. So this is negative 3/8 a minus 1/2 b. And that's our final answer. And it's our final answer because it's fully simplified. Remember that we cannot add unlike terms. And this term right here is an a term, and this term right here is a b term. And we can't combine those. Alright, so number 3 is very similar to number 2. So the first thing I would do is where both of my subtractions are, I would change those to addition of the opposite sign. So we write 3 halves y plus 1/4 z. And then instead of this minus a positive 1/6, I change it to plus negative 1/6. And then instead of minus 2z, I change it to plus negative 2z. Oh, I forgot my y here. Alright, so now we want to rewrite this expression so that the like terms are next to one another. So we'll write the y's first and then the z's, because we tend to do this in alphabetical order. So we've got 3 over 2y plus, and then our other y term, which is right here. So that's negative 1 over 6y plus, now we want our z terms. So we've got 1/4 z plus negative 2z. Now that our like terms are next to one another, we can combine like terms. So the first thing we want to do is combine the y's. And to combine them, we just add their coefficients. So it will be this 3 over 2 plus negative 1 over 6. So in our calculators, we'll do 3 fraction button 2, right arrow, plus negative 1 fraction button 6, right arrow. And then once again, you always want to look at your calculator screen before you hit enter. So I've got 3 halves plus negative 1/6, which is what I want. So I hit enter. And it gives me 1 2/6 with the down arrow next to the answer. So that means it's simplifiable. So I hit the simplify button and enter. And that gives me 1 1/3 y plus. Now I want to combine my z terms. So I hit the clear button. And remember, I'm just adding the coefficients. So it's 1/4 plus negative 2. So 1 fraction button, 4, right arrow, plus negative 2. Enter. And it gives me negative 1 3/4. And since there's no down arrow next to the answer, it's fully simplified. So negative 1 3/4 z. Once again, we've got a plus negative here, so we'll turn that back to subtraction. So this is really 1 1/3 y plus negative, we change back to subtraction, so that's minus 1 3/4 z.